Action. Clap. I first got involved with Robert Alanis when I watched his early films. I saw the earliest ones on DVD and then finally heard that one of his films was going to premiere in a local theater, watched it, and was blown away by the quality. When you watch a DVD, you say, that's a good movie. But when you're sitting in the theater and the movie blows you away, you realize this man somehow is making Hollywood quality films on a shoestring budget. And so I got involved in the next couple of films as an Indiegogo investor. I like to put my money where my mouth is, and I believe in independent filmmaking, and I believe in what Robert's messages usually are. Even his secular films always had a message. And then Robert came to me and said, well, why don't you become an investor and an executive? And so I became an executive and an investor in Heavens to Betsy 1 and Heavens to Betsy 2. And it was an amazing experience. We had a great script and a great cast, a great crew, and we put out, I think, 2 really fine movies. Now comes Honest to God. Completely different movie with a completely different message. And I thought, what's going on here? It's a movie about a man who has 3 weeks to live. It's like, this doesn't sound like a comedy. This sounds deadly serious. And at times it is. And then other times it's drop-dead funny. And I would expect nothing less from Robert. And as soon as I read the script, I had to be on board with this one as well. It's got a poignant message, there's no doubt about that. It's a message that I think people need to hear about not being a nominal Christian, about putting your faith in action. The man who thinks he's going to die really isn't the Christian he thinks he is. His wife is. She's his moral compass. And he's sort of using her as a crutch. Well, you know, she takes me to church when I don't have meetings or golf, and you know, we sort of raise our kids properly, although, you know, one is a slacker who's still living in the basement, and the other is an airhead, but they're generally good kids. You kind of get the feeling that what we're seeing here is a man who's like the Pharisee in the parable of the Pharisee and the publican. He goes to church and he says, I thank you, Lord, for all the things you've given me. I thank you that I'm not like that publican there. I do this, I do this, I do this. And the entire prayer is not, you know, have mercy on me because I'm a sinner. What it is I'm a good man, you know, and he thinks he's a good man. And this scare, he's going to die in 3 weeks, and I don't think we're giving anything away by saying it turns out he's not going to die in 3 weeks. But this scare is what he needs to open up his eyes to the fact that he's not the Christian he thinks he is or should be. It's got some incredibly funny moments. The daughter is, like I said, she's kind of an airhead, but she's lovable. You know, we don't poke fun at people here. Even the slacker, you know, he's a good guy. He's the kind of guy that, you know, you just laugh and say, okay. For example, the character brings in a couple of Mormons who drop by his door. You know, it's divine providence. Mormons are at my door when I'm going to die in 3 weeks. He brings them in. The daughter thinks this is wonderful. Mormons! You know, they prefer Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saint, dear. And the slacker is just like, whatever. You know, it's funny. It really is. It's hilarious. And there's the usual wacky next-door neighbor that Robert tends to get into his films. And there's a lot of incredibly funny moments, but there's also some very serious moments, especially when he talks to his wife and realizes that she's the one who's the Christian, and he's tagging along for the ride, really. We have a cast of people that Robert has worked with before. It's the role of Benji, and it's played by Steve Parks. Steve creates a character for every film, and this is probably the 5th film he's worked with Robert on. Every character is totally different. They have a different look, they have a different sound, they act different. He's a method actor, there's no doubt about it. And he creates characters that are memorable and quite often poignant. We also have in this film, for the third time with Robert, a man known to most people who have ever watched television. We have Larry Thomas, who's the soup Nazi from Seinfeld. No soup for you! And we've used him in the past, and one of the great things is that Larry is not only a great guy, but he's a great actor. He can do more than the soup Nazi. And it's really a shame that when we talk about him, we have to mention the soup Nazi. And I think we're going to see that he's doing something totally different here, but just as hilarious. He's going to play Dr. Haja, and there's going to be some great scenes, and you're going to enjoy it. It's going to be funny. I had Larry Thomas in one of the earlier films sign his book for me, and then I sat there talking to him about how much I loved his recipe for mulligatawny in that book. If you look at the previous work that Robert has done, and this is his 10th film now, and if you've watched the DVDs or you've seen them in theaters, you know that Robert's work is outstanding. I don't know how he does it. Well, I do know how he does it, to be honest with you. He has a secret weapon. He's not only the director and the producer, but he's the writer. Oh, that makes a big difference. I've seen so many independent films that have good cinematography and no story to speak of. I've seen films that have a really great script, but it's amateurish production. Robert's films have it all. He has a crew that's outstanding. The cinematography is always great. His direction is great. The editing is great. The actors, I don't know where he gets these actors from. In the Heavens to Betsy films, we had a number of outstanding people, and they did a great job. But none of it means anything, of course, if you don't have a great script for them to read, and Robert manages to do it. In Heavens to Betsy 1, he took the faith-based genre, in my opinion, to a new level. Faith-based films tend generally to aim at people who go to church, people who are good Christians, not nominal Christians, people who believe in God, and producers like to aim movies at that audience, but they're preaching to the choir. Robert is the person who says, you know what, we can go beyond that. We can give a message that says to people, you know what, this is how your life should be if you would give your life to God. So in Heavens to Betsy, we had a woman who discovered that she had lost a book deal that she thought she had, and she got angry, and even though she was a very good Christian, certainly not a nominal Christian, she got angry and she lashed out at God. And God decided to show her what her life would be like if he had answered every prayer she ever prayed. Every prayer. Hilarity ensues. The second film, though, she returns to her old life. She understands that it is not my will, but thy will that should be done. She now writes a book about her experience, but she decides that in order to be a good Christian, which she still is, she's not a nominal Christian, that she needs to tell people the truth. This really happened to me. I went to an alternate dimension or something, had a vision from God, whatever it is, and God showed me the error of my ways. And at that point, she becomes a target for the people who don't believe, for people who want to make fun of Christians. And she has to defend her faith in a very personal manner on national television. And it's incredibly moving and poignant, and it's not just aimed at Christians. It's aimed at people who are nominal, or not, maybe even that, but non-believing. And those people get to see now what it is to be someone who lives for God, someone who is honest to God. And that brings us to the next movie. Robert just didn't want to write a film about a catchphrase. He's writing a film about what it means to be honest to God. And we're going to see a character different from Betsy, someone who is a nominal Christian, and see hopefully their conversion to being someone like Betsy.